All right, let's go. Episode number 5 of Tommy Points. Little KG action. In the building,
sir.
we have Riley, Color Sports. We have Dante from Dante on Deck. A headband Dante. Massive flow. Incredible flow, Dante, if I do say so.
Had to bring it out for episode 5. I had to.
Let's just hope the performance isn't like the Kyrie headband. Let's right all the wrongs here. You're a positive podcaster with the headband on.
That's right. Thank you.
And then also in the building, you have myself, Ev. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. We have some amazing performances from some of these guys on the team to talk about in episode 5. So let's get right to it.
This is getting ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I love Walter. I love Walter. Everybody up there gets a Tommy point.
All right, so here we go on episode 5. Like I said, we have so much to talk about, guys. Pretty juiced. I mean, we've had storylines here, storylines there, and all of a sudden, they're coming true. We talked about it in episodes probably 1 through 4. We always had said the Jays need to step up. The Jays need to do it. Well, Riley, Dante, the Jays are doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. It's not even like Jaylen Brown. We're hyping him up. He had an amazing first 3 games of the season the last time that we talked, and he's just continuing to do it. It's just like there's no signs of this guy slowing down. I hate to say, I'm not trying to sound like a green teamer or a homer, but Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown is literally having an MVP type of season right now. And if any of you guys thought he was going to be playing this well at this point in the season, then God bless you. I want to know how you can change the future. But I just couldn't. I never saw this happening. I thought he was going to have an all-star year, but he's looking like he's going to make an all-NBA team or something. He's just looking unreal.
Incredible. I mean, he's 7th in the league in points per game, which I would never have guessed that. 7th in the league. And the thing is, he's shooting near 60% from the field. No one even in the top 10 is coming close to that.
He has the second most points in the NBA. The only person in front of him is Steph Curry, who just had 60 the other night. And Jayson Tatum is only 10 points less than Brown. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
We couldn't have asked for anything better from these guys. We really couldn't have.
And it didn't take a Jayson Tatum haircut to get going.
No.
I think
no.
That's a positive. But yeah, why don't we start talking about that Jaylen Brown 42.9? I guess just we kind of touched on it too, just everything he's doing right now, because he drops 42 points in 3 quarters, right?
Yep.
Against the Grizzlies. I don't know if I had a gun to my head a year ago and someone said Jaylen Brown has to drop 40 plus points in 3 quarters or you're dead, I would 1,000,000% say nope. And I don't hate Jaylen Brown. I love Jaylen Brown, but I'm not taking that bet. And all of a sudden he goes out and does it. Luckily, that's never been an issue. I've never had a gun to my head, but that's neither here nor there. What did you guys think of that 42-point night?
I thought that was insane. Like you said, Evan, you don't expect Jaylen Brown to drop 40 points. You expect him to drop 20, 30 something, on good nights. But, it's not just the fact that he dropped 42, it's how efficient he was. Mm-hmm. Again, throughout the whole season, just shooting like crazy. He can't miss.
It's kind of too, I had a ton of people after the game downplaying what Jaylen was doing, 42 points, whatever. The Grizzlies didn't have Ja, they didn't have Jaren Jackson, this and that. Ja and Jaren Jackson weren't going to stop Jaylen Brown from shooting 15 for 21. Ja Morant ain't going to stop him. Jaren Jackson ain't going to stop him. He shot 7 for 10 from the 3-point line. 42 points in 29 minutes. I don't care if we're going up against the freaking New York Knicks, the Oklahoma City. I don't care if we're going up against the worst teams in the league. When you drop 42 that efficiently, that says something, and not for nothing. Those are the most points scored in 3 quarters for a Celtic since 1996. He's doing things that haven't been done in nearly 25 years, and just the fact that, like you said, Evan, I would not have expected Jaylen Brown to be able to have nights like this. I even had this conversation with my friends just a few weeks ago, Tatum and Brown, just telling the difference. Tatum, you can expect him to pop off now and then and have those, high 30s, low 40-point games. Jaylen Brown, he's one of those guys that you expect to give you around 20, between 20 and 30 every game, but not someone I expect to go off for 40. And never mind, if he played the full game, he could have had 50. Let's not forget that. They blew him out. If it was a close game, he would have stayed in and he most likely would have gone 50. The way that he was shooting,
An easy 50.
easy 50. And like, it was effortless. This was like the easiest 42 points I've ever seen anyone get. And not for nothing, I hate to bring it up. I really do. But like, he has a 42-point game, super efficient night. No one talks about it. But yet days before that, James Harden has a 40-point game, has, double-digit assists. And everyone's like, oh, Celtics should want him. But then Jaylen does this. And it's just like, why aren't we talking about, like, why do we need Harden when we have him doing this? You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. Keep it fair. Talk about it both ways.
Seriously. Now look at, all right, this is appealing to the YouTube audience here. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go check it out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. This is Jaylen Brown's shot chart. Now, I tweeted a video about this and talked about it. The thing that's crazy to me, and yes, obviously Jaylen Brown was going off this game. The thing that's crazy to me is where all these shots are from. He covered the floor in where he was shooting from. He had, the inside scores, the mid-range, the in the paint, the threes, the deep threes. Like Jaylen Brown, a couple years ago, we're not seeing this. Whether he's dropping 42 points or not. A 42-point night from Jaylen Brown, I feel like all the shots would have been kind of around the paint just a few years ago. And now we're seeing green circles literally everywhere on the floor.
Yeah, like you said, if this was like 2 years ago, I would imagine all those green circles and those red X's to be just in the paint, nowhere else. Yeah. The fact that he shot 7 for 10 from 3, before this game started, he was shooting 26% from 3. At halftime, he shot 5 for 5. It was up to 45%. And then after the game, he was at 41% from 3. His stat, like this game alone, like, he's not having, talked about this, how his stats weren't standing out. One stat that wasn't standing out, was his 3-point percentage. And then he comes out and he fires off like this. It's like, even when you start doubting, like there's parts that he's not doing too well, he just shuts you up and he just comes out and shoots 7 for 10 from 3. Like, he can do a little bit of everything. He's not just a driver. He's not just aggressive. He can shoot. He's one of the best, if not the best mid-range shooter in the NBA too. If we can talk about that, he's shooting 70-something% from mid-range this year. Like, he's doing it from all over the place. It's not that he's just specializing in one area. He's just doing it everywhere. And it's awesome to see.
Yeah, he's like what I'll say is that, what was it, 2 years ago he got his contract? Before last season? Or, yeah. So, and everyone's saying, like, is he worth the money? Like, most people, honestly, there were so many Celtics fans saying no. And then there was games last year where you'd be like, oh, well, tough night to be a Jaylen Brown hater. But there's been games this year where it's impossible to be a Jaylen Brown hater.
Underpaid.
It's absolutely absurd. He's going to become, by the time that contract's like, I guess in one more year, I would say it's going to be one of the most valuable or most valued contracts, I guess, in the NBA. Completely easily underpaid.
And one thing, too, about Jaylen, and I know this didn't really get picked up that much because he had the 42 points, but he's also become a fantastic passer and getting his teammates involved. He has his usage rate is up over 5% from last season, so the ball is in his hands more. And his turnover ratio is a career low, and his assist ratio is more than double from last year. He's averaging over 3 assists a game. It's not even like you're just asking him to go out there and score. That's not even what he's doing. He's getting his teammates involved. He's playing great defense. All around, his game has just been phenomenal this year, and it's just you don't want it to go unnoticed. I know now it's starting to pick up some national attention and stuff like that, but honestly, we always talk about Jayson Tatum. We'd always have these conversations, but it's so nice being able to talk about Jaylen doing this stuff now.
I know, it's crazy. It's like I said, he's sort of like the one that everyone has doubted. Not only with the money, not only just in his career, but like, oh, the guy can't shoot, goes out and shoots. The guy can't pass, the guy can't dribble. It's like, tell Jaylen Brown he's doing something wrong. He's just going to turn around next offseason and do it right. It's crazy.
Yep. And that's the thing too. We even really didn't have an off season. I know he he was having a good bubble and stuff like that, but like from then to now, like what the hell happened? Like he really must have been working in silence, like with the lights off. Like no one knows he's working as hard as he is. So it's awesome to see. It really is.
All right, so let's turn to Riley's guy, Jayson Tatum here too. So Jaylen Brown, we said dropped 42. Just a couple days later, I mean, it's realistically like a week later, but a couple sounds a lot better. Jayson Tatum goes out and drops 40 points. There's a few things to talk about with Jayson Tatum too. We'll talk about the points, but Riley, you also predicted 5 assists per game over the next 5 games. Jayson Tatum came up a little bit short at 4.6, but if you go back to last episode and listen to it, Dante even said himself, if we have to round up, we'll count it. So we're counting it. It's another prediction that Riley can put in the books as correct. We'll talk about another prediction later on. But Riley, what'd you think of that Jayson Tatum? And it was just yesterday that we saw it, that 40-point night against the Raptors.
Yeah, no, he looked amazing. It's the Jayson Tatum we all, always want to see, He got to the line 13 times. He was shooting great from three, only a couple assists, but, he filled up the box score, including scoring 40 points.
I mean, 12 assists the game before. I think it's okay that he only has 2 the night he drops 40. Like, if he's dropping 40 points and, exceeding your prediction of the 5 assists per game, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa. Like, we'll take the 40 points if it means only a couple assists. But you brought up the free throws, too. How refreshing was that to see Jayson Tatum driving, getting fouled, going to the line, making foul shots?
Yeah, he's finally getting to the line more. And I feel like that has to do with, who's on the court. I'm not to get into this right now, but, the whole 2 center starting lineup thing, I'm not big on, because when Grant Williams and Semi Ojeleye are out there, they're hitting shots. They're not the most, efficient, offensive players, but they space the floor out for Jaylen and Tatum. And Tatum and Brown are just more efficient when they're out there.
Yeah, I think we saw that last night too, because I think, Dante, you were raging about that starting lineup, right? And you have been. This is your bone to pick. So, I mean, we mentioned it. We might as well jump into it. This is, and I'm on your side too, to be honest. But, I've seen the tweets come out of Dante's camp here. He hates the 2 center lineup.
Here's the thing with the 2 center lineup. It's one thing, you give it a game or two, you give it a shot, see if it works. It doesn't work, you switch it up, you go somewhere else. We're 8 games in, and we're still going to the same lineup. They've only been twice this year where it's been different. It's because Thompson's been out, and last game Smart was out, so they still did the 2 centers. It was one game where they didn't do 2 centers. The team, the Celtics, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, so I'm sorry if I mess my words up a little bit. I just get very emotional when I talk about this, okay? We've played so many games this year, and each game we start the game off super slow. The energy isn't there. Defense isn't there. We're not hitting as many shots as we should. Why is that? Well, we're starting 2 centers, 2 guys that have the same exact role, really. If you look at how they play the same exact way. Daniel Tice literally said I think it was against the Pacers. He literally said, I don't feel comfortable playing the power forward. I'm much more comfortable playing the 5 because when he's at the 5, he can set screens, he can roll to the basket, do this and that. When Thompson's on the floor with him, he has to spread the floor and he has to shoot threes. He can't spread the floor. He can't shoot threes. So it doesn't work. He's hit 1 3 since opening night. It's just every once in a blue moon, he'll hit a shot, but it's once every 10 to 15 times. Last night against the Raptors, the team comes out and they're down 23-10, right? 6 minutes in, Semi Ojeleye subs out for Tristan Thompson. They go on a 45-19 run. They allowed 18 points in the first 4 minutes of that game and only allowed 24 the rest of the half. This lineup, I don't understand Brad's infatuation with starting 2 centers. If this was the 2000s, 1990, sure, go for it. No one in the NBA starts 2 centers anymore. We really only have 3 guys in the starting lineup that could really score. Marcus, Jaylen, Jayson. I'm not saying anything about Tyson Thompson, but you're not asking them to go out and give you 10, 15 a night. So when you basically just have 3 guys on the court that can start the offense for the team to start the night. And when you bring in guys that actually make an impact, Semi Ojeleye, Payton Pritchard, you see the turnaround. This team, let me tell you this stat really quick. I don't know if you guys saw this. I like I said, I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but I get very emotional with this.
Tangent away.
This lineup,
Headband
Dante. When I have the headband on, it's going to be a good episode. In the first quarter, the team has an offensive rating of 97.4. The starting lineup allows 113.7 points per 100 possessions. Their defense. Their defensive. The defensive rating is 114 points. That's awful. That's so many points. Their offensive rating is 94. Also terrible. If you look at their first quarter offensive rating of 97, that jumps up 30 points into the second quarter. Why? Because Brad Stevens puts guys in that actually know how to put the ball in the basket and can play the perimeter. Semi Ojeleye, him or Payton Pritchard need to start. I know Payton Pritchard, like spark plug off the bench. I get this and that, but he's proven that he can start. When he comes into the game, he changes everything on offense and defense. Might not be the best defender in the world, but he picks up the pace. He goes for loose balls. He causes turnovers, steals the ball. Offense, he gets guys going. Incredible passer, playmaker, can shoot the ball. Semi Ojeleye, I've said not great things about this guy in the past, but when he steps in the game, he has been one of the most like impactful players for the Celtics this year. And it upsets me too because Brad Stevens, up until this year, I really have never complained about him. His rotations and substitutions this year have been abysmal. Semi Ojeleye has like a great start to the year, and then he has a few games where he just doesn't play. Yeah. It's like, why are you not playing the guys that are actually helping the team? In this case, Semi Ojeleye, honestly, if it's not Pritchard, it should be Semi, because you have a guy that can go out there, spread the floor, play defense, just try something different. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm not an NBA head coach. I can't tell you the Pritchard, Jaylen, Jayson, Smart, Thompson lineup is going to work. Just give it a shot. Just give it one shot. If it doesn't work, go back to whatever you want to do. But when you consistently use a lineup that doesn't work, and Brad Stevens says, I asked him if he's going to change it. He goes, they're too inconsistent to tell right now if I should change it. What do you mean? We're 8 games in, and every single game it's been the same problem. They start slow, and then they pick it up in the second quarter because you put in good guys. Change the starting lineup, for the love of God. 2 centers does not work. Ditch it. Leave it alone. Tice is much better off the bench. Or if you want to start Tice and have Thompson off the bench, all for it. Just one of them, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Brad Stevens and how big size.
It's a lot. It's a mouthful. It really is. It really is.
So the Brad Stevens, you mentioned how you haven't been critical of him before. This is kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
This not the 2 center lineup, but his rotations has been something for like a year and a half now that I've been critical of, because I always think and have thought now Brad Stevens gets a rotation in his mind and runs with it. And it doesn't matter what's going on the floor. He's a great coach. I don't want to get rid of Brad Stevens, but he just gets a rotation and he thinks, oh, let's do it. And it doesn't really matter what's going on out there. And I mean, the one sort of, I don't know if it's in his defense or a bit of credence to it, is that the 2 center lineup, it kind of looked like it worked against Milwaukee right away. And then maybe he was like, I have something here. Let's keep running it until it doesn't work. But I feel like a couple games ago, we're at the point where you have to acknowledge, okay, it really doesn't work. So I'm with you on the rotation. I don't like it as I don't like it either. And Semi Ojeleye would be my vote to start. Yep. Semi Ojeleye has proven me wrong. I mean, I didn't even hate Semi Ojeleye, but he was always the butt of my joke when I talked about the Celtics bench. You know what I mean? It's always like, we're bringing in Semi Ojeleye. It's like, well, now it actually works. It's good. But if I touch on Pritchard here, and we can talk about Pritchard in more of a light in a little bit, I think Pritchard is that perfect guy off the bench. I get that he can start, and he's proven that he, deserves to start in some senses. But I do think that most of his value comes with, and you said it yourself, Dante, the way he comes in and changes the game. You don't necessarily have the opportunity to change the game starting it. I'm not saying that he wouldn't. I think he can start. I think if they started Pritchard, he would continue to play well. I'm really high on him right now, as I'm sure we all are. But I really do like that he is the spark plug, So my vote would be Semi. I've had enough of this 2 center lineup. I think the proof's in the pudding so far. It doesn't work, and I'm hoping Brad Stevens sees that too. Because, I mean, if he trots out a 2 center lineup next game, it's like, dude,
I'm with you. You're talking about there are certain teams matchups that you can use that for, like Milwaukee. They're a very tall team. They're a very tall starting lineup. So that's fine.
But even then, you mix them, you match them up during the game. You don't need to start that. You know what I mean? If you feel the 2 centers match up well against a team, throw that in there sometime during the game. You don't need to get out and going with a 2 center lineup, because you start 2 big men, you're almost telling yourself, let's start the game slow. Now, not even slow points wise, but you're not running as much as you would on the floor. You're not getting after it as much. You have 2 bigger, slower guys out there.
Yeah, and let's look at the 3 losses. We have 3 losses this year. One, obviously, Brooklyn blowout. We don't have to talk about that. That Pacers game, the Grant Williams, Robert Williams mix-up at the end. First of all, Grant Williams shouldn't have even been in that game. I know we talked about this last week, but that's just that's a substitution. That's a rotation thing. Brad Stevens should not have put Grant Williams in right there. Against the Pistons, we lost by 3. We went down by 21 points in the first quarter. The Pistons started 3 forwards, a guard, and the starting Plumlee. I forget which Plumlee it is. But we still put out 2 centers, even though we knew Tice was going to have to go up against Jeremy Grant the entire game, who who honestly made Tice look really bad. I'm not going to lie to you. And then you put in the bench, like I mentioned earlier, and they outscored them the rest of the game. Like that was the only quarter that they went down a ton and they couldn't get back into it because of that. It's like these things cost you. They're going to cost you games. I know it's early in the season and stuff, but if you keep, these are habits that you're going to continue to build, and if that keeps going on, you're just going to cost your team more and more games, and it adds up. Right now, it's whatever. It's 3 losses early in the season, but if those types of losses keep happening because of mistakes like that, then it's going to become very annoying very quickly.
Let me ask you guys this on the 2 center topic, though. Now, we're talking 2 bigs, right? But it's because Tice and Thompson are sort of both that sort of physical, gritty, grindy big man, right? What if you, and I'm not saying I want to do this, but I just kind of am thinking of it. Time Lord, if he were to ever get to a point where he can start, would that change it as much? Because it doesn't spread the floor, but it does allow them to run a little bit. They do have a leaping shot blocker in there. You know what I mean? It's a different 2 center lineup. I'm not saying I'm on that boat because it literally just popped into my head. But what do you guys think of that?
What do you think, Riley?
I can see Time Lord starting with Tice. I don't know about Thompson, but I'm still not for it. But I mean, if he's going to still, run the 2 center lineup, might as well run a shot.
Yeah,
It probably doesn't. It probably doesn't supersede the starting semi. You know what I mean? If you're going to make a change, put in the guy that really, really deserves it. Not saying Time Lord doesn't, but
yeah. If Brad Stevens is so infatuated with starting 2 centers, then you might as well see what it's like putting in the one other center in the lineup and see how that works. Like I said, I'm just all for just scratching it in general and just giving Semi or someone like Pritchard those minutes. But hey, I mean, like I said, if he wants to do it, Robert Williams and Daniel Tice, he doesn't spread the floor, but I mean, he plays great defense, and he's also he's a phenomenal passer. Like Robert Williams, like we can talk about him too, but he's just all around. He's having also just a great year, and he can contribute a lot to the starting lineup. Kind of like with Pritchard, just ups the energy on defense, even a little bit on offense. So even just putting in someone like that could be a big spark plug for the starting lineup.
Yeah, my last thought on it too, and it aligns with everything we've been saying. If they continue to run a 2 center lineup, when Kemba comes back, all of a sudden it's like you're throwing a wrench into something that's been in the works for, at this point, months now. They might as well get to a point where either you're starting Ogilvy or, Pritchard would be perfect. Pritchard starts for now, Kemba comes back, then all of a sudden you still have that sort of lineup construction in the starting lineup. But, I'm just thinking of that now too. If they continue to run with this 2 center lineup and then Kemba comes back, you're going to be forced with sort of like well, now what do we do? Do we keep with the 2 center lineup but sit smart, or do we now bench one of the big men? And all of a sudden, like that's when I said throwing a wrench into it, because now you're going with an entirely different comprised starting lineup. So it's might as well ditch it now. I think we're all saying, you know what I mean? Like, it's,
yeah, no, I agree. And plus, like, it'll be weird. Like, let's say Kemba does come back. What are you going to do? You're going to start 2 centers, Jaylen, Jayson, and Kemba. Like Marcus Smart. At the beginning of the year, I was saying like I kind of would like him coming off the bench because that's always been, he's always been great off the bench. But now with Pritchard coming along, he's going to be the Marcus Smart off the bench. He's going to be the perfect guard off the bench. So I want Smart to stay in the starting lineup, and just the way he's been playing too, like unselfish. I think he's top 10 in the league for assists this year. He's averaging almost 7 a game. Getting his teammates involved, much better shot selection, much smarter, no pun intended. So you want someone like that to stay in the lineup. You know what I mean? That with his defense. So you might as well ditch the 2 center lineup now instead of making it all confusing when Kemba does eventually come back. Because then it would just kind of be like you just a whole new lineup at that point. It's just all right. Just get it over with now. Just see what works now instead of later.
100%. I think we're all calling.
Yeah,
we're like slightly calling for Brad Stevens' heads, but also just saying like,
I'm not.
Just get rid of that.
I'm not trying. Like, listen, I talked about this on me and Ryan's podcast too. It's like I'm not on the whole fire Brad Stevens train. Like that's not it whatsoever. Like he's a phenomenal coach, great X's and O's coach, like basketball genius, like knows his stuff. But it's just certain things like that, like the rotations, the starting lineup. Sometimes he doesn't call timeouts when he should, or he doesn't challenge when you wish you would challenge. But I don't want him to be fired. Just I don't know. Maybe someone just needs to say something to him. Like I don't know if we're watching the same games. Like I don't know if he's on his iPad watching League Pats while the Celtics are playing. But like I'm watching the Celtics play and they don't look good in the first quarter. It's like Brad, we have to be seeing the same thing here, man. Like we really do.
I know. I think I said it on this show, saying like I just want him to coach like he's got a little bit of a fire under his ass.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
we all know he's not going to get fired, but if he had a 1% of him that felt like, okay, if I don't perform, I could get fired, then we might
don't
say
put him on the
different.
hot seat, but put a little pressure on him.
Yeah, agreed.
Exactly.
But, all right, you guys want to start talking some Pritchard?
Oh, do I?
Yes.
So Payton Pritchard, I mean, he is legit. Dante called it, Riley, on the first episode.
I know.
Dante
That's my
calls it.
prediction. That's my prediction.
Well, how
mean,
about,
what-
how about
What is there to say about him? I mean, the
how
guy.
about Riley predicts a 20-point night from Pritchard.
Yeah.
And passes career high Pritchard 23 points.
Yes, sir.
Love that.
We got a Nostradamus on the show.
When they were saying Marcus Smart was out and Jeff Teague was out, all I was seeing on my timeline was if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize anything you've ever wanted, in one moment, would you capture it or would you let it slip? Let me tell you, Richard did not let it slip. He captured the moment. He took advantage of those extra minutes that came his way from the two guards being out, and he just. Payton Pritchard's the real deal. He is. Like, and I said this earlier with Jaylen Brown, like, I'm not trying to sound like a green team or like a fanboy, nothing, this and that, but he's legitimately making a case to like be in the rookie of the year race right now.
He's
like
top 10 in like every category for rookies.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Evan, because I have them right in front of me right now, and I can't wait to say what I'm looking at right now. 4th in points among rookies, 3rd field goal made, 2nd assists, 2nd in steals, 10th in defensive rebounds, 2nd in plus minus, 2nd in offensive rating, and 7th in defensive rating amongst rookies, averaging over 20 points a game. Him and Tatum also have their plus minus, or on the court, their net rating is plus 24, which ranks 6th in the league for duos that play over 100 minutes together. He is making an impact like I've never seen. It's just crazy actually getting a rookie and he actually comes in and just makes an impact right away. And we said this before. We thought this was going to be Neesmith. But now it's Pritchard doing this. So it's just like, it's incredible. Just both sides of the ball, just not even like he's a good scorer. He's a phenomenal passer. He had 23 and 8. Both were career highs last night. And he was efficient. He shot 8 for 13. Like, he's the real deal. I don't know what else to say. He's really, really freaking good.
I know what else to say. He's the number one guest I want on this.
Yes,
podcast.
we were talking about Neesmith, but now I think Pritchard's the number one guest now.
Number one guest.
Yes.
What do you guys think of like all the nicknames that are going on around it? There's Fast PP, P Rabbit. Like, what do you guys, do you like any of them yet? Or
I'm a P Rabbit guy only because when you talk about like Fast PP and stuff, like it's just toilet humor. It feels weird coming. I feel weird saying that.
he named that himself.
That was his Twitter handle. Yeah,
Yeah,
he did
that's
change
wild.
it. He did change it though. I think when he realized Twitter was catching on, I think he decided to change it. But I'm a P Rabbit guy. He looks just like Eminem from 8 Mile, so I stick with that. And like I said, I'm watching NBC Boston. They're saying like PP and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, that's not a professional name. That's not a good marketable nickname. Like, just I don't know. It's funny. Weird Celtics Twitter can have it all they want, but I'm all for P Rabbit. That's my nickname for him.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on anything yet. I feel like the best nickname's yet to come for him, and if we name him, not that I hate P Rabbit, I don't love it, but if we name him P Rabbit and like then we lock it in, we might be missing a better option.
Yeah, nothing's locked in yet. Nothing's locked in yet. It's all up in the air.
What do you think, Riley? You got a preference?
I like Fast PP, to be honest.
It's funny. It's a funny name. Those are his initials. It makes sense.
It's just the original one.
It is. Hey, he came up with it himself, so he can't be mad at anyone for calling him that.
But yeah, so I think we already talked on it too, but bringing it back to that game, Riley, you tweeted out the 20-point prediction, nailed it. Like I said, you're turning into a Nostradamus on this show. But the fact that he is like legit at this point, you know what I mean? He isn't that fluke where other fans of other teams on Twitter, on social media, whatever, could be like, oh my God, these guys are sucking him off, or houses, taste, that type of thing. No, this guy literally like should be loved by other NBA fans. He's unbelievable right now. He's like taking a guy that looks like, well, I guess he doesn't look like he's a young kid. He looks whatever. He looks like his normal age. But then you like peel back the layers, and it's like he's a 50-year-old veteran in a 3-year-old's body, just playing out there. It's crazy. Like some of these drives, some of these crafty finishes, some of the passes. It's like, he's a steal of the draft. He's the hidden gem, and he's just like the win of the draft so far.
I was going to ask you guys, like, how long do you have to how long does it take for you to consider someone a steal of the draft? Like, is it too early to call him the steal of the draft? Because I feel like it's fair to call him that right now.
Yeah, I just said it, but it probably is too early because like a year from now, you could have a guy that's an MVP out of this draft. Who knows? Yeah. And then he's the steal of the draft.
So far, he looks like the steal of the draft. So far, and two. He's older than Jayson Tatum. He's 2 months older than Jayson Tatum. He turns 23 this month. He's 5 months older than me. Jesus Christ. Like, this guy's out here. I'm here sitting talking about him, and I'm fine with that. But this guy's 5 months older than me, making an impact on a championship franchise. Like, it's incredible. The 4 years of college, you can tell, really benefited him. Like, we talked about how comfortable he feels, like how he looks on the court, like going up against guys with his teammates, he just looks comfortable. And it's just that was 3 games in, and we're 8 games in, and we're still saying the same thing. He looks like he's been playing in the NBA for well over. This looks like it's not his rookie year. Like, it looks like he's been in the NBA for quite a few years.
From the first dribble too, that's the thing. Like, he got in there and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna, not like take over this game," but he pretty much was like, "I'm gonna shoot when I want to shoot. I'll make the right pass. I'll do my thing." It's awesome to watch him.
Yeah, and he's not afraid at all. No fear in him whatsoever.
Literally,
and he reminds me a lot of Marcus Smart. Obviously, they're like, kind of Marcus Smart's Marcus Smart, and you can't really, compare many people to him. But like, he has a lot of Marcus Smart in his game, and that's really exciting.
I got to step my prediction game up or something because you called Pritchard preseason and said he has the Marcus Smart motor, and I was like, all right, pal. And Riley out here just hits every single prediction he ever dreams of. Like, Riley can say Tatum's going to drop 101 points, and he'll do it. I gotta figure something out, or I gotta prove to the listeners and watchers that I know Celtics basketball because I'm not doing it so far.
Hey, you're doing just fine.
What about now? If we go from positive to a negative, you mentioned it. Nesmith. We thought that he was going to be this rookie phenom. Yeah. He played. He got some run last night. There were the hospital Celtics were out there. He got first quarter entry, and I don't know. What did you guys think of him before I talk about it?
I don't feel like he's ready yet. I feel like Pritchard obviously came in more ready. I don't feel like he can be on the court for more than a minute without fouling someone. I didn't think he'd be like a liability on defense, and he is.
He fouls so much.
And if he doesn't foul, the guy's like 10 feet past him, and he's back and looking at him. It's like foul or nothing.
It sucks that he's gotten a few opportunities and he really hasn't done much with it. What I'm seeing right now, think about this. Pritchard played all 4 years in college. Nesmith had his rookie year. He didn't really stand out that much. Had a better sophomore year. Missed a good amount because of his injury, and he just comes into the NBA with just a little over a year of college experience. No summer league. I think summer league would have benefited him a ton. Just being able to get out there, going up against like his peers and stuff. I think that would have been helpful, getting him just acclimated to NBA speed and all of that. In the lack of training camp, I know we had it for like a week or two, but like usually it goes on for like a month. He really didn't have much time to get NBA ready, and I think that was the thing. He just isn't NBA ready. It's not by any means like he's a bust. Like, we're not going as far as saying that. It's just he's one of those guys. There are players that can step in right away and make an impact, which we were seeing with Payton Pritchard. Some guys, it takes a little bit. I mean, look at Jaylen Brown. Barely played his rookie year. He played 16 minutes a night, and there were nights that he didn't play. Jimmy Butler, I mean, it took him years to become who he became. I'm not saying Nesmith is going to be either one of those guys, but what I'm saying is like, sometimes it just takes time for these guys to develop. He might just need a full NBA season under his belt. He might need an off season where he's training with, all these different types of people with the team, the trainers on the team. He just needs more time. It's unfortunate because we did think he was going to make an impact because, with the shooting and such. But it's just going to take time. And it's not a bad thing. If Pritchard wasn't doing what he's doing, I think it would be a little bit more upsetting that we got 2 rookies not doing anything. But since Pritchard is actually, exceeding a lot of people's expectations, it makes up for it. So people aren't as upset about it. But still, it's something to keep an eye on.
Do either of you guys see Nesmith like turning it around at all? Because for me, it's almost like, and I know it's only 8 games, and I know I'm trying to stay positive, but I'm almost thinking like, given the position that he is, and I will say one thing before I get into my point, he does have the unique skill of being a shooter, so that's obviously boding well for him. But I'll say he is sort of in the position where, playing that 2 or 3 where he can just get lost in the mix if he doesn't start to perform right away, and then all of a sudden it's like you look back in 2 years and be like, that guy was a nobody.
That's what happened with Carson Edwards, right? I mean, he got an opportunity early on. He didn't play well, and I mean, he played against the Pistons for 4 minutes the other night when it was a blowout. But like, he's not a consistent. He's not a part of the rotation consistently. I don't think he's going to turn around this year simply because, I know it's 8 games in. I know like it was just 1 game, but he had an opportunity last night and he didn't look great. If he looked good, then he'd get more opportunities. I'm sure he's going to have plenty of opportunities, but I think when we start seeing the real true Aaron Nesmith, it won't be this season. It's going to be next season or whenever.
And let's just hope Brad and Celtics fans too have the leash.
Give him a chance. Yeah, just hold on to hope. Don't give up on him.
Because like I said, he has the shooting skill.
Mm-hmm. But, he just needs to pick it up. That's all.
I feel so bad for Carson Edwards. Every guard on the roster is out last night. Carson Edwards still doesn't play.
I was actually kind of upset that he didn't get much playing time, especially Tremont Waters starting. He didn't look good at all. I mean, we don't really have to get into him because there really isn't much to talk about. Yeah. But like, he wasn't looking good. Might as well give Carson minutes. I mean, why did you put him in for 4 minutes the other night against the Pistons, and you're not going to play him in the night that like almost all of our guards are out? Give him a shot. I don't know. He's not my favorite player, but at the same time, you got to give guys chances every once in a while.
I know you guys don't want to get into Draymond, but he was the sole person that held Tatum back from 50 points. I'm not talking about when he blew the lead and whatnot. Jayson Tatum had an opportunity to score over 40 points, maybe 50 points, but what was it, at the end of the third quarter? Tremont Waters was dribbling the shot clock out, dribbling the air out of the ball, going and getting blocked or making I was like, dude, just get the ball to Jayson Tatum. Mm-hmm. Like, he's trying to go for a career high, 1, and then 2, a 50-point night, and Tremont Waters is like, yep, let's go.
I like the idea of Tremont Waters starting because it's just like, unpredictable. Not, he doesn't want to mess up the flow, like keeping Pritchard off the bench because that probably would have been the obvious start. Mm-hmm. But he's just so small. Like, Tremont, I like him. He's from New Haven. I went to school in New Haven. Like, he's my boy in that aspect. Like, I love him. But like, he's so small. The way he plays in the G League does not translate to the NBA. And that it's not just this game. Every game that he's played, like for the Celtics, it just hasn't like looked that great, especially on offense. Defense, I mean, Van Vliet had 14 in the first quarter and Lowry had 9. They literally were licking their chops when he was like coming up on them to defend them. Like, he could not stand in front of everyone. He shot 1 for 8. I mean, like I said, a wild card. It was kind of a curveball. Brad Stevens does that, but didn't like it.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because I know we said we're not going to talk Tremont Waters, but here we are. It's like I was rooting for him because he was that like 2-way contract, lighting it up in the G League. Like, I like him until like the Celtics make me put my money where my mouth is. It's like, okay, well, yeah, he's gonna play. And it's like, oh shit. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like we hype him up, and it's like then we actually give him good minutes, and it's just like, oh no, I really hope he does well. But maybe next time he plays, he'll have a better night. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, just a couple before we get into any. I just want to touch on two more guys that have been all over social media. Obviously, they deserve to be talked about. Grant Williams, who we have been hard on, finally had a good night against the Raptors. I don't think it started that way. Like, I honestly was like, here we go. Grant Williams stinks. He's out here doing Grant Williams things. He honestly turned it around, and he did turn it around in times when it mattered too. It wasn't just like he poured the gravy on when they were blowing him out. I'll give it to Grant Williams, and then obviously Robert Williams we'll talk about too. But Grant Williams, I have to tip my cat. I've called it like it is with Grant Williams. I'm not a huge fan of him lately, and I've made that abundantly clear. But when he does perform, when he does provide actual value, I got to give him props, and he did that against Toronto.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I think he had the best game of his career last night. I mean, personally, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. He was active all over the floor, defense, offense. He was getting offensive rebounds and ones. He was hustling, diving on the floor for loose balls. This is how he has to play every game. He shot 3 for 4 from 3 as well. I'm not going to ask him to shoot 75% from 3 every game, but it's a promising sign that this is what he can contribute to the team. The thing is with him, Grant Williams, is that he's too inconsistent. That's really the biggest thing. He has games like this, and then the next game he can go out and not score at all, go 0 for 3 from 3 and whatever. He needs to do this every night. Like, maybe not, have the best game of his career every night, but like just contribute something off the bench so you can earn these minutes. He played 24 minutes last night. Like, those are the minutes you kind of expect Grant Williams to play. But if he plays like he did last night, he can get those minutes. If he plays like he has been like during the regular the games before, he's not going to get those minutes. So I just want to keep him, see him keep it up. That's all. Keep it up.
I mean, you said keyword contribute, and Riley, we were saying last episode, he literally provides nothing when he's on the floor. Contributes the opposite of nothing. So steps in the right direction.
No, yeah, and like I was saying before, with him and Semi, I think help space the floor better. Which helped Tatum and Brown score and get to the basket easier. So it's kind of that doesn't show up on the box score, but he does contribute.
Against the Raptors, him and Semi shot 6 for 9 from 3. Very nice. They shot 6 for 9 from 3. It's like you can't expect them to do that every game, but like when you have guys that are able to spread the floor like that, you see it really does benefit the team.
Yeah, 28, the highest on the team for that game.
Yeah, plus 28.
That's true, and that is honestly the type of guy you want Grant Williams to be, right? Like that, he is the typical like plus minus guy. When you draw everything out, you want him to be that guy that's like, okay, I'm a plus 25 every night. I'm a walking plus 25. So that's good to see. And
the stats don't have to stand out every game. As long as when you're on the floor, you're making an impact. The numbers don't have to jump out. The plus minus. I know a lot of people think that's a silly stat, but like it shows that when you are on the court, the team was doing well with you there. So if he can keep doing that, I'm all for him getting 20 plus minutes a game. But he just has to keep doing it. That's all.
Me too. And like the thing with the plus minus, it can get skewed if everyone's just a plus, you blow out a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were guys in the Celtics that didn't have nearly a plus 25 last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you can at least put it into relation to other guys in the team, it does actually, in my opinion.
I mean, Jaylen was plus 4. So he was plus 24 higher than him. So, I mean, right there, Jaylen Brown, we're talking about him having an MVP-like season. And, Grant Williams, that plus minus was so much better than him. I mean, doesn't say anything about who he is like compared to Brown, but just shows that, he contributed a lot compared to some guys that you thought would contribute more.
Yep. All right. And then, like I said, I wanted to touch on Robert Williams as our sort of last player spotlight, I guess. Robert Williams, I think that my big thing for him is that this is turning into, no doubt about it in my mind, a breakout year for him. Every single time I see him, even last night where I feel like he started kind of slow, he made a couple of fouls, and I was like, oh, geez, maybe he's not doing too hot. All of a sudden, middle of the game type of thing, Robert Williams, I'm watching him when he's out there. I want to see if he's getting in the wrong place, committing stupid fouls, jumping to Neptune on pump fakes. I'm keeping my eye on this, and so far, so good for Robert Williams. Like, I know he's still got a ways to go in terms of really, really being able to trust him. But damn, like the things that I'm looking for, he's not doing. Like I said, he's not getting mentally played by every team out there. And it's amazing to see because I've said on this show before, if they can turn to and have the ability to turn to Robert Williams whenever they want or whenever they need to, I think that that's massive for this team.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I have, after last night, through 7 games, these are his statistics per 36 minutes. He's averaging over 14 points, nearly 15 rebounds, 6 of those being offensive, 3.5 blocks, 2.5 steals, and nearly 2 assists. It's not just one part of his game that's jumping out. I know those are per 36, I get that, but like it's not just one part of his game that's sticking out. The defense, the rebounding, the points. I mean, he's really coming into his own, and this is what we've been wanting to see from him for so long. I know, Evan, you brought up earlier, like, if we want to see Robert Williams in the starting lineup. In all honesty, like, in a few years from, like, maybe a year from now, a few years from now, I imagine him being the starting center for this team. But right now, he is the ideal backup big man for the Celtics. Like, when they bring the bench guys in and they have him with, the guys like Semi, T, Pritchard, like that, those guys do a lot of great things for like, those guys together just really make an impact. I want him to get more minutes. I think he's only averaging like 15 minutes a game. I want him to see him consistently play like 20, 25 because he's deserved those minutes. He's earned those minutes. And, the last few games, if they say anything, he's just been such an impactful player for this team. And I hope he keeps it up because this is what we've wanted from him for years.
Yeah.
So,
I'd still like to see Williams come off the bench, but get more minutes. I know it's only been a few games, but we talked about, I think last week that, he's got a lot of potential. It's there. He's super raw. In the last few games, he's looked a little more polished. I think it was He's got the highest over Tatum and Brown. He's got the highest player efficiency rating on the Celtics.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just speaks volumes.
And if you can take a Grant Williams who scores, just using last night as an example, 14 points with 6 rebounds, pair him with a Robert Williams off the bench, 11 points, 15 rebounds, you're looking at 25 extra points a night. Now, I'm not saying this happens every night, 25 extra points a night and 20 plus rebounds a night from your, backup 5 and backup 4, which is something that dating back to I was going to say last year, but even further back, everyone's always talking about the Celtics centers, the Celtics big men, the Celtics, bigs. All of a sudden you turn to those guys and it's like, okay, well, maybe we're good. Maybe that isn't a problem. So it's still, we're basing it off of one game for Grant Williams saying, he's finally contributing. Robert Williams, I do think, has had a little bit better of a showing just based on where he was, I guess, whereas Grant Williams seems to have maybe, it's hard to say after a good game from him, but taking a step back from like the bubble last year. But overall, if those two guys can be go-to guys, then this team goes from like, we only have the Jays, like it's a learning year, like I think I've called it before. They can turn to two guys like that off the bench, and they're not even their two best bench players. Then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, wait a second, we might be competing with Brooklyn, we might be competing with Milwaukee, because all of a sudden we're two guys deeper than we ever thought we would be.
And then Semi too. I mean, like we said, like beginning of the season.
I mean, he can't catch a break with me.
Yeah, and it's understandable too. But the thing is, like before the season started, like we didn't expect him to do anything. We didn't expect him to really get much playing time because he hasn't really earned it. And then here he comes in. We're basically just adding in an extra bench player that's contributing these points. Last night, going off of the stats you said about Robert and Grant, Semi too, the bench had 60 points last night. You see the potential in this team. Like when this team like hits their potential, they're freaking good. And this team is still hurt. We were missing 5 guys last night. Like in total, we were missing 5 guys, 2 guards. It's like, and they still played that way. Like when this team is healthy and they're hitting all the spots, they reach their potential. We're right up there with the best of them. We really are. Everyone just needs to make it work and it needs to click. That's just the biggest thing.
Yeah. It's like, and who knows if, because all of a sudden you got the wild card of Kemba coming back. Mm-hmm. Who knows if the knee's going to be okay? Who knows if Payton Pritchard keeps it up? Who knows if Robert Williams or Grant Williams keeps it up? Like, we won't know, but that's not to say it isn't all going to click. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Celtics fans, obviously, we got some absolute diehard fans, and we have both ends of the spectrum. The plus the glass half full and absolute green teamers, but then you also have the people that literally like just love to hate on the team. And they're probably thinking it's not going to click. The green teamers out here thinking, oh my God, it's already clicked, even though Kemba's injured. But, it's like something where even if something falls, not in the middle, I think we're in the middle right now, but if something falls and sort of clicks and Kemba comes back to being like even just a flat 20 point per game score, like this team's so much better than people think, but they just haven't shown it at all this year. They don't need everything to click. Everything clicks, they're winning the championship. Like that's the same thing said for every team, I guess. But it's
like the few things the team needs to do is first of all ditch the 2 center lineup. That's the last time I want to mention it. But it's just like you look at Jaylen and Jayson, we see now that they are able to carry a team. Like there's no doubt about that anymore. Like we knew that with Jayson. Now that Jaylen's coming into his own, like we see that now. What this team needs to do is just build around them. That's literally all. They just put the right piece around them. And this goes back to that Detroit game the other day when they missed their last 11 shots. They went scoreless in the last 4 minutes. You know who they could have used? Kemba Walker. Mm-hmm. They could have used someone that could also put the ball in the basket in those big moments, in those clutch moments. That's really like one thing they're missing. Like they don't need a third quote unquote star. They don't need another star next to them. They just need someone else that could actually give you like nearly 20 points and you can count on when those guys aren't doing their thing. Like last year we had the Jays, Kemba, Gordon. When someone was having an off night, you still had those 3. Now it's like Jaylen and Jayson, like, if they both have bad nights, who's going to be there? When we bring Kemba Walker back, you're hoping that he can continue to be, who he was in the years past and just compliment these guys. Obviously now Kemba Walker isn't the type of player who's going to come in and be pissed that Jaylen's taking the spotlight from him. He's taking the shots. Like he's fine with Jayson and Jaylen taking the spotlight. Like he's fine being the third highest scorer, the third guy on that team. As long as the team's successful, and that's why I'm hoping when he comes back, he comes back 100%. Because if he comes back 100% and plays the way he is, the way he was, man, this team can be really freaking good. It really can.
Really good. Like I don't know. I don't know how to even spin it in
Yeah,
another direction. Like
it's
really,
just like,
really
yeah,
good.
it's like I don't know how else to say it. They can just be really good. When they're healthy, they can be very good. And not for nothing, Romeo Langford too. I know like he doesn't get the most minutes, but last year he had the third highest defensive rating on the team. Like that says something. Like he contributes a lot on defense, so that could help a lot out in like certain situations. So once we get all these guys back, like we'll finally be able to see what this team can really do.
What do you guys say we start winding down and just look at the next few games between now and next recording like we did before? We all got our prediction right last time. We had 5 games to look at. We said 4-1, most likely with a loss to one of the Pistons games. Maybe Riley, you're the prediction guy. Maybe don't say that this time and just say the Celtics go undefeated, and they go undefeated. But tomorrow night we're playing, and this, if you're listening or watching this tonight, I guess in perspective, because this is launching Wednesday. They play the Heat. Then on Friday, Wizards. Sunday, Heat again. And then on Tuesday, playing the Bulls. So 4 games between now and next recording. I guess, I'll just ask you guys, what do you guys think of those 4 games record-wise? Again, if you want to get nitty-gritty, if you want to give your specific prediction on win-loss of the specific games, go for it. But just overall, out of 4 games, what do you think?
I mean, I think I'm looking at the record. They play Miami twice, Washington, Chicago. I mean, you hope that they win those games. Those are like the games you see and like, oh, they should win that. But at the same time, there's always games that you think they should win and they might not. Pistons, for example, yeah, perfect example. They play Miami twice. I can imagine that's going to be a split series. I mean, Miami's had their trouble with injuries. Jimmy Butler was out a few games. I think he's back now. I consider them the second best team in the Eastern Conference going into the season. So I think that matchup will be it's going to be must-watch basketball. I mean, listen, the Celtics have something against the Heat. They eliminated them in the playoffs last year. Like, they're out for revenge. Yeah. I'd say they're out for blood. I'm not trying to make this sound like it's going to be a killing or anything, but like they're going to look to get revenge, and it's going to be very interesting to see that matchup, especially now that the Celtics added in a few new guys, Tristan Thompson, Jeff T. This is really like, if you think about it, minus Kemba Walker, this is kind of the same lineup that went against the Heat last year, except you add in Teague, Thompson, and Pritchard, and Kemba's gone. So it's just like, we have a few more additions. How do we stack up against them now? So overall, I'm going to say 3-1, assuming that they beat Washington and Chicago. I'll say that they lose 1 to Miami, and they split that.
What do you think, Ryan?
I was going to go 3-1 as well, beating Washington and Chicago, and then splitting against Miami. But I just have a feeling that, not that it's a big deal, it's a regular season game, but the Celtics are going to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think they're going to beat Miami both times. 4-0.
I like that.
I love it.
That's that, actually, yeah.
That's a similar boat that I'm in. I think that the Celtics, this is a team where it's like, Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and this is all barring injuries, I guess, right? Jeff Teague's day-to-day, Marcus Smart, who knows, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're assuming that they trot out a non-hospital Celtics lineup. But I think that this team is like a Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to show up and be like, hey, guess what? We grew up a lot this offseason. Like, you ready for this? And not saying the Heat don't have young guys that are getting better too, but Dante, you touched on the additions. I can't wait to see Pritchard just get all up in Tyler Hero's jockstrap.
Yep. Yeah, that's gonna be something you look out for.
Sounded way weirder than I want to say.
We gotta clip that.
Cut that. No. You're right. No, it's you're right, because it's just like I said this too. It's like when we drafted Nesmith, I was like, he's gonna be our Tyler Hero. Mm-hmm. Someone last night said to me, Pritchard's our Tyler Hero. So now that you brought it, hey, go head to head. Let's see who's better. I think it'll be an interesting matchup for sure.
So we got Riley in the books at 4-0. I'm glad that you're saying 4-0. I'm saying the same thing, 4-0. Or actually, you know what? I'm more confident in the 2 wins versus the Heat than I am even the 4-0.
Honestly,
they might go 3-1 and lose.
As crazy as that sounds, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like if you know the Celtics, you know that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So, but again, it's. I think we're still, obviously, when we look at these groupings of games, even though some of the things we've said on this team, we're like calling out the issues with the team in these podcasts. When we're looking at these lumpings of games, like 5 games, 4 games at a time, we're going like 4-1, 3-1. Like, we're clearly showing that this team in our minds is better than most. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Even with all the injuries and stuff, They're still standing toe to toe. I mean, like I said, they have 3 losses this year. One of them was to Brooklyn. The other 2 by 3 points and 1 point. Like,
Yeah.
this team is fine, all considering. Like, they still look good. They're going toe to toe with any team that they go up against. They're competing hard, and that's all you can really ask for. It's like with people being out. So they're doing well so far this year. I really can't ask for much more, to be quite honest with you. I can't. What Jaylen and Jayson doing, I really can't ask for much more.
No, but all right, guys, thank you for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. The thing's growing; it's becoming a wagon. I'm juiced that we're putting out the clips and whatnot. We're taking this show to the next level. We're only 5 episodes in, and I think we all know we got something special here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Twitter as a podcast at Tommy Points Pod. You can follow Riley on Twitter at Color Sports. Dante on Twitter. Dante on deck. You might need to change your handle to Flow Dante or Headband Dante. I don't know, man. One last shake for the
one last wave
road
before we go.
and you can follow me on Twitter at EvGuyBoston. And go Celts. We'll talk to you guys in the next episode, and hopefully we'd have a few more 40-point games to talk about the Jays, and then Pritchard continuing to go off.
Hell yeah. Go Celtics.
This is getting ridiculous. This is absolutely